it's doing like the preparing thing, but I bet you right now we're already
It's
live.
live.
It's live. All right, you guys, I'm here with Jayse of Conscious Crypto, and actually his YouTube channel is called Cosmic Origins.
That's right. Yep. Thank
Um,
you for that.
yeah, so but like just not to get confused. He has this crypto course called Conscious Crypto, but then his YouTube channel is Cosmic Origin because he does more than just crypto because he also does some other really cool stuff like that we're going to talk about. So, first thing is first, hello.
Hey,
Hey.
thanks for having me. It's a
Yeah.
long
Oh,
time in the making.
I know we've been friends for years, but then like I just have he's been on some of my live chats before, but we haven't done a dedicated one to like his offering and like what he does, which is really really cool, and we're gonna get into that. But also we're gonna go to Japan
Woo.
soon or like in March
Spring. Yep.
basically. Yeah, you want to say something about that?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, so we're planning. We all went. Me and Nikki and her husband Joaquin and our friends Aaron and Amanda and a couple others. We all went to Japan last fall, which some of you guys probably saw pictures of Nikki that she put online and stuff. But we did a megalithic tour, just us with our group. Like, what we have, like 8 people or something, and was the best trip that I've ever done. I know you've been all over the world, so maybe there's some.
It's pretty good though. I mean,
Yeah.
Japan is like amazing food, amazing megaliths that I had, I'm obsessed with this stuff, so like I already kind of knew a little bit about the megaliths, but
Hmm.
it's one thing seeing a picture of Masuda Mfude or even like Ishino-Hoden or something, but then it's another thing when you're in person, they're like way huger than you think,
Yeah.
way more mysterious, and I'm like, oh, it's real. The mystery is really real.
Yeah.
Um, and what I like about it is Japan still has an element of undiscovered. Like not very many people have gone there.
Yeah.
I mean, like I don't know any humans in my life who are like good friends of mine, or it's not like anybody in my family has ever done this kind of trip that we've done. So it
Yeah.
was like the novelty was amazing, plus the food's amazing, and
Yeah. Yeah. Like when we tell random people that we did a megalithic trip, they're like, what are you even talking about? Like there's megaliths in Japan, like people that are outside of, the
yeah.
megalith
And
sphere.
even my own awareness, like I don't think I knew about megaliths in Japan until maybe a couple years ago. Like it was just, it's not like where you would think that there's going to be,
Yeah.
stones as big as stuff in Peru or Egypt kind of thing, but they are, and they're crazy. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're doing a 2 week tour out there. It's going to be March 8th through March 22nd. We're going to officially launch it in I don't know, like a
Next
week
week or
or
so.
soon, really
Yeah.
soon. Okay. But
Yeah.
anyway, you keep that in your radar. Don't book anything else for March just yet until you see what the offer is because it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be incredible. Like, I mean, it's just one of the things I love about Japan, kind of what you were saying too, is like the undiscovered part. It has such a balance of obviously living in the future in Tokyo, technologically advanced, but in a way that actually works versus like dystopian. Like the
Yeah.
toilets, for example, being freaking next level.
The
And
toilets sing to you. They give you, they wash you with warm water and they like are heated seats. And like, this is even if you go to the gas station.
yeah.
Like, I mean, even the porta potties are advanced. Like, everything is just,
And then it makes our toilets look so primal and uncivilized and like gross. And you're like, why are we still living in, the 15th century in America with our plumbing
yeah,
systems?
exactly. Well, I
But
mean, and even for me, I thought like I recently got back from India, and India makes our toilets look like, the best thing in the universe. They have like holes in the ground. And then it makes me kind of go like Japan has ruined me because
yeah,
there's like I no longer want to go to places like India where I have to like rough it for however long I'm there. I mean, like India is like camping in some
yeah,
senses, like like you go to a public restroom in India, it's yeah, it's
yeah.
rough,
Good luck.
and a completely different experience in Japan. Japan
Yeah.
is like it's affordable lap of luxury.
Yeah, I think we
That's
had one bathroom publicly that was like kind of bad, which is that one in at the little with the little people stones that we went to.
oh,
I don't know if
maybe
you,
I didn't even go to that one. I
yeah,
don't
you
even
might
remember
not.
that
That
one.
was the only one that was like, ooh. And every other one was amazing. And then like homelessness too. I think we saw like one or two homeless people the whole trip, and it was in the heart of Tokyo. But they have this great balance with like the futuristic lifestyle and then the elements from the past, the undiscovered history. Like you go outside of the Tokyo and Osaka, and all of a sudden you're in the countryside, and it feels like you're in a, like a Studio Ghibli movie, like Japanese anime.
Yeah.
Like you see where all the inspiration and the beautiful art came from, and in the history, and it's just such a good blending of the future and the past.
Yeah, it really is so crazy. It's like eh, sorry guys, I'm trying to like upload his stuff into this thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna share this out real quick too to my groups. But yeah, mark your calendars next March, mid to late March, second half of March, and 1 week up to 2 weeks with optional add-ons. But we'll have all the details
Yeah.
out in the near future.
Yeah, and that's the thing is it's like we've been working on like getting the price structure complete. And it's kind of like it's roughly I don't, it was like 4,500 to 8,500 or 9,000. Anyway, depends on how much you want to do. You can decide to add on Tokyo or Okinawa or not. So basically you'll get to look at the thing. I mean, it's like you can make it short and really affordable, or you could go for the full enchilada, um,
Hmm.
Bob's your apple kind of thing. So, I don't even Bob's your apple. I don't even know if that's a real thing. But anyway, I just made it one. Um, okay, yes. So let's get into conscious crypto because Jayse is like an XRP man. He loves his XRP. So he's going to explain to you exactly what is up with all that stuff. So and I mean the best way I would describe it is like a person who doesn't know anything about crypto has some discretionary income and wants to like get another wealth class or just like you want to get into something like Jayse will hold your hand. He shows you how to like buy the wallet, like do the like what to invest in, when to invest in, how to invest in it, like what to expect, what not to expect. Like crypto is not easy. It's not like you can just like, oh, I'm gonna buy some Bitcoin today. It's like, no, you have to have like a special app and then you have to have a special account. And then, oh, I'm sorry, you have to buy USBD or US coins before you can purchase that. And
Yeah.
so your funds won't be available till tomorrow. And then you can purchase. I mean, it's like it's not like you can just do it in 2 seconds. It's not user friendly. And I don't know if that's by design or what is that?
I think that aspect of it will get a lot better in the coming years as the regulation stuff gets sorted out. And then, user interface, community engagement kind of stuff will be, I think, way more streamlined. Plus, and we can get into this more later, but like, I think crypto, whether or not people invest in it or even care about it or look at it, I believe it's gonna positively impact everybody's life in a similar way to the positive aspects of the internet, positive aspects of social media, where, now with the internet, back when it was coming around in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, like there was a lot of talk back then, like, oh, the media was like, this is a passing fad. Don't invest in the
Right.
internet. Don't use the internet. Like it's gonna come and go. And same thing now with crypto is what they're saying. But it's already on the back end getting implemented, and we can go deeper into this, but just to shortly, you know, cover it for context, it's getting implemented in the back end of like banks and cross-border payment systems and governments and domestic payment systems. And so it's going to positively impact everyone because you're going to be able to like send money to anybody as easy as sending a text message or an email versus being like, oh, I've got PayPal, you've got Venmo. Okay, let's send it to our other friend and then they'll
Well,
send it to
and like
you.
as an example, I got a Venmo the other day and then I put it into I tried to move it over into my bank account and it was
Yeah.
3 days. It took three
Yeah, yeah,
days
yeah.
for it to get, it's like, do you want to you want to pay more and get it instantly, or do you just want to do the 3 days slow?
Exactly, right? So they have the ability to do it instantly, but they
Yeah.
charge you for it. And then when that 3 days that you have to wait for, stuff like wire transfers and bank transfers too, the banks are using people's money to profit off of it. Like they're basically holding those funds and like investing them while
In
it's in that
interest.
holding period.
Yeah.
And so that's why they're really opposed to crypto too, because it essentially takes out their job as the middleman, and then they can't profit off of that. It's basically a parasite in the financial system that these banks have set up where they're siphoning it all, and it's, making that pyramid energy scheme.
And at first, I mean, like, look, I've been hearing about crypto since 2000 and I don't know, whatever, like 15 or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a fad, it's going away or whatever. And then now I've realized, like, okay, there's too many even big players invested now. It's not going anywhere. It's
Yeah.
not, I'm not saying like, put all your eggs in one basket and only do this, but I'm just saying like this isn't an asset class that's not going to be a thing unless there's like you know, a, a giant asteroid that takes out the
Solar flare.
yeah,
Yeah.
we have other problems bigger than that,
Exactly.
right? At that
And that's
point,
what
it's
people
like,
always ask me. They're like, so what happens if we get like a Carrington event, solar flare, we go back? I'm like, okay, if we go back to the Stone Age, there's no electricity, like we have way bigger problems. We got to figure out survival. And in that case, it's always good to have gold and silver. I think that that's the most ancient money, and it's
right.
it's a good backup in that kind of situation. But I also don't feel intuitively like we're on a timeline that's going to be a major cataclysm to that degree, maybe smaller ones, but not like a whole world in the Stone Age. But what I also tell people is, say we get like a solar flare and it wipes out three-quarters of the planet's electricity or something crazy, but it's not everything. The way that crypto works versus like traditional systems, traditional networks, they have, everyone's familiar with data centers now, but even before AI, like, Facebook had their data center, Google has their data center, and they're usually in like one spot. So it's like, okay, if you take out a specific data center for a tech company or a bank or something,
Right.
then yeah, like, there could be problems with that because you can't recover the data if it's gone. But with crypto, it's designed to be not in one location. It's spread out everywhere. And so
And
it
that's the
doesn't exist
blockchain
at
concept, right?
exactly, that's the blockchain. So it doesn't exist at any one particular point. It's like neurons in the brain where you can lose a few neurons. You could have a drink and you lose a few neurons, but you're not gonna,
Still
become
functioning.
unalived.
Yeah.
So as long as one of those nodes, which there's like thousands of per crypto, per blockchain, as long as one of those survives, which could be in some kid's basement, or there's ones in like military bunkers, or I think there's probably ones on satellites. As long as one survives, it can repopulate the data for the whole network. So even if the majority of the planet, say all the surface stuff gets taken out, but one in a bunker underground survives, it can recover and then everything is still there. So,
Well, and then to that point, it's like we like let's not kid ourselves. We're not really on the gold standard anymore. So like we're already on digital money.
yeah.
So it's like, well, we could have that conversation about like you just said, the bank servers. Like,
Yeah.
are they gonna know how much money you actually did have in your account?
Well, and that's the thing is like we saw, so many people around 2020, big people get their banks frozen, including the Trump family and Kanye and like anybody who was, big profile that spoke out against the system. So
Or
if
those
it,
Canadians, remember
yeah,
there was a Canadian trucker people that had a big like bank freezing thing I heard.
and that's one of the examples I bring up a lot because it is like the best proof of concept for why crypto is so important right now. And if people haven't heard that, I'll briefly go through it. During the COVID lockdowns, the Canadian truckers did a big rally where they were driving out from like Alberta and BC on the West Coast and driving out to the capital on the East. And they went all the way across the country. And while they were doing that, hundreds, if not thousands of truckers, the government called up the various financial institutions, their banks, their PayPals, even their crypto exchanges like Coinbase, and had them all shut down so that they could not buy gas. They could not, buy food. They had to
Mhm.
basically just stop. And the one thing that got them through it remotely outside of, in-person cash was using private crypto wallets, which are different than keeping it on something like Coinbase, which is where you have to like buy it, crypto.com, Coinbase, Kraken. But those are just like a bank where some, government can call, have them shut down, and all of a
Right.
sudden you're locked out of your account. Whereas with wallets, and this is one of the big reasons that I went from being super skeptical about crypto in the beginning to seeing the value of it, was I was seeing, a lot of our friends, Journey to Truth, among others, had their PayPals and stuff shut down so they couldn't receive donations. Um, and I was like, okay, we need something that's actually sovereign, that is connected to the digital realm, so that creators can be compensated and supported because we can't, give gold and silver over the internet, obviously. Or if we're doing it digitally, it has the same problems
Right.
as, the banking system.
Now,
So
the problem
crypto,
with the physical wallet to me is always like, what if you lose that?
yeah. So basically you can lose it and be okay because you get a set of passwords that are randomly generated. It's usually 12 to 24 random words, and they call that your secret keys or your seed phrase. And that's something you just write down on paper. You can also put it on a piece of steel so that it's fireproof and stuff. But as long as you have those passwords, even if you break the wallet, lose it, someone steals it, you can get back into your accounts no matter what. So it's like the back door essentially. But that's why that's like the most important thing, even more than the wallet. You don't want that to get
You don't
out
want your codes to get, yeah,
because
taken
if the wallet gets stolen, you usually have a PIN code or a thumbprint, so people can't get into it. But if your password gets stolen, then
yeah,
you
my
know,
uncle, he he had 10 Bitcoins, um, and he lost his passwords. So
mm,
they don't know what they're doing. Yeah, so like they're
dang.
still looking for those for a year now.
And that's where you want to have both. And if you have the wallet and you have the password and you lose one of them, as long as you have the other, you're okay. But you don't want to
Right.
lose both because then you're kind of
Then you're
screwed.
screwed. Yeah. But I mean, that's the case for a lot of things. Like if you
Yeah,
have cash and you lose the cash, you don't have the cash, that's
exactly. Yep.
it's
Yep.
the
Yep.
same sort of situation. Okay, so walk us through like functional coins versus those meme coins. Like I know that the meme
Yeah.
coins are kind of bullshit, but people who don't understand the difference, like not all crypto coins are created equally. So,
Yeah. Yeah, so like kind of like, I guess like penny stocks maybe with the stock market, there is going to be a lot of, especially right now before Clarity Act and regulation, there's a lot of scam stuff, but there's also really legit stuff. So the scam stuff, most of it's like you're saying going to be the meme coins or like random, you'll usually everyone will hear like their brother's friend or their cousin or someone random will be like, "Hey, I just found this super great crypto and it's a startup and it's created by the founders of Bitcoin." And like I've heard this kind of thing so many times and then it just is nothing and people lose a bunch of money. So for
I've
me,
even lost a bunch of money on the
yeah,
Trump coin. I was like, oh, that'll do well. I bought it the day it came out, and then
I
it
lost,
just
yeah, that too. Yeah, yeah. And that was great proof of concept. And now in the new Clarity Act regulations, they actually put in there that presidents or I think anybody in office cannot create or promote their own cryptocurrencies.
mm,
So it almost seems like it baited them in to creating regulation by doing that thing,
right.
even though it was unfortunate. And I hope it comes back, but I sold all my Trump coin. But that's why meme coins, you got to be super careful because they are basically gambling. Um, for me, what brought me from super skeptic to like believer in the technology and the energy of it was the utility, which is what you were basically saying. Like, what is the purpose? So, a good crypto should have a function. It should service humanity in some way that is new and that
Mhm.
actually solves a problem that's like affecting civilization right now. So, for our group in Conscious Crypto, we really focus on the payments oriented cryptos, the cryptos that are related to the payments industry. You also have AI coins and, of course, meme coins and gaming coins and all the different industries are kind of getting on board and doing their own thing. But the payments ones are the ones I was guided to initially. I mean, for me, there's like the spiritual side of it, and then there's the 3D like nuts and bolts side of it. And I think when they come together, like left and right brain, masculine, feminine, that's when there's something important in what you're looking at when both blend. Um, so we can get into the spiritual side later, but for like the more technical side, the payments coins like XRP are the ones that are gonna have the greatest, they're solving the problem that deals with the greatest amount of money, and therefore they will have most likely the biggest return of interest as far as an investment. And the reason is because in order, let's say take XRP for example. XRP is mainly trying to replace the cross-border payment system, which, like we said, takes 3 to 5 days, wire transfers, all this nonsense that the banks profit from. So XRP can settle any amount of money anywhere in the world in 2 to 4 seconds for a fraction of a penny, even if you're sending $1 million or $1 billion. It's like
And are
essentially
they
free.
all, so is that like Ripple's technology or something, or the company
So
Ripple, or how's that work?
Ripple is the private company. XRP is the currency.
Currency.
They are related. XRP actually came before Ripple, so
Okay.
the team that made XRP then created Ripple afterwards and donated like half the supply to Ripple to basically birth it into the world. But they can exist without each other. So Ripple could go away, XRP would still
Oh, okay. I
exist.
didn't know that. I
XRP.
thought they were like the same entity, but no, okay.
Yeah, so
We're
that's where a lot of
similar
people will
players,
just
but different.
yeah, so like a lot of people will just call XRP Ripple, but it's technically incorrect. Even the news will say that. Ripple could totally fail as a company, go away because Ripple only owns like 2% of the validators of the nodes that we were talking about on the XRP network, which
Mm.
means they only have about that 2% control over the network. So there's a lot of things that like the community has wanted to bring in that they voted on because it's also like a digital democracy in the crypto realm where however many coins of a crypto you hold kind of equals like a certain amount of votes most of the time.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I see.
and so the
Like
community
shareholders of it, or
essentially, yeah, but it's like way more direct instead of it being like, going through the company, you're like directly involved. So it's way more grassroots. Um,
hmm.
so there's been a lot of like updates that the community has brought in that Ripple didn't want, but the community outvoted them. So it's great like proof of concept that it's not this like top down typical structure of like whatever the company says goes kind of thing. Um,
And what's your
so
feelings on Bitcoin?
Bitcoin, that was a big reason why I was initially not pulled to crypto because all I really knew about prior to 2020 was Bitcoin. And I never got a good vibe about it. Same thing with Ethereum, which is the second biggest one.
Hmm.
Bitcoin's obviously the first, the biggest. I think it set the standard for bringing in this new era of technology, but also when is the first of any technology ever like the best, right? Like we're always getting new iPhones, we're always getting new computers, whatever. Like we're not sticking with the first. And so with Bitcoin, it's got a lot of issues. Even though it brought in a lot of virtues, it had a lot of issues with control over the network, bad actors, vulnerabilities to bad actors coming in and taking it over. It's relatively expensive, especially compared to XRP to do
Get
like a
in,
small
yeah.
transaction. Like you could send $10, like I could send you $10 and I might pay $5 in fees, which is ridiculous.
Oh, that's what, can you explain that part, like the on and off ramp thing? Because like I didn't realize, because at one point I was like looking at it going like, wow, all these cryptos fluctuate so much, you could just day trade them. And then I realized like, no, because when you get in and off the ramp, there's fees and they're kind of expensive fees. And what's that about?
So anytime that you're doing a transaction on the blockchain, on any blockchain, there's always some fee involved. With XRP, like I said, it's basically negligible. It's a fraction of a penny. Whereas with Bitcoin and Ethereum, it's far more substantial. And those fees go to the people who hold the infrastructure, which kind of makes sense, but it can lead, and by infrastructure, I mean like with Bitcoin, the mining rigs. So most people have heard about like Bitcoin mining, which is where, you see guys with like warehouses or you hear stories of like a janitor in a school that secretly set up a Bitcoin mining rig using the school's electricity. It was like one popular story.
Oh,
Um, and that's a big problem with Bitcoin too, is it takes a lot of energy to actually run the network, which XRP does not. So with Bitcoin, you have the high fees, which go to those miners, and that's where the miners make their money, essentially, is from the fees.
and that's
And
just basically mining means just the servers that hold the coins, right? Or what does it mean?
well, with it's more complicated with Bitcoin because it's more like tech rudimentary with the energy, but the way they do it is essentially they're running what's the word? Not negligible, but they're running like random equations that are really tough for arbitrarily. That's what I was thinking of. They're running like arbitrary equations that don't mean anything, that don't really serve their own purpose other than to create this kind of work effort to receive the reward of the mining, the coins they get from mining.
Okay.
Um, so the miners profit from that, and then the transaction fee, the transaction times are also really slow. So for like a Bitcoin transaction, you might be waiting an hour for it to go through because it
Uh,
tops out at like 5 to 7 transactions per second for the whole world. So for the whole world, there's only 5 to 7 Bitcoin transactions that can be processed per second, which means the more people use Bitcoin,
okay, so that's really inefficient long term.
super inefficient. Whereas compared to Visa, Visa processes 1,500 transactions per second, which is also what XRP does. So basically, XRP was designed by not Bitcoin creators, possibly, but it's anonymous who created Bitcoin, so we don't know for sure. But by people who helped develop Bitcoin after it was made that contributed to it, they saw the flaws in Bitcoin and then created XRP as a solution to those issues. But also, I think there's way more on the kind of spiritual, 5D timeline level that's going on as well.
So what do you think's happening with like almost like a timeline war where they're coming back, seeing the flaws of it and coming back and fixing it? Well, what do
Yeah.
you think about this whole like everything mimics Bitcoin and this 4 year cycle thing?
So right now, because Bitcoin is still the biggest one, everything follows Bitcoin in the market because we're still in a speculatively driven market, which is what pretty much every other market we're used to, stock markets, real estate, it's all speculative, meaning big money is investing because they think this company is going to do well, because they think this piece of real estate is going to do well in the future. So it's speculative. Whereas
Mhm.
cryptocurrency is the first asset class that's actually a technology within itself. It's not just an investment vehicle, it actually serves a
Right.
purpose. So that purpose is what will ultimately, that utility is what will ultimately split the rest of the market off from Bitcoin, and maybe not everything, but particular assets like XRP. They call it decoupling from the market. And you mentioned the 4 year cycles. That's a Bitcoin cycle that it's coded into the way that the mining operations work. And there's this thing called the halving, where every 4 years the miners make half the amount of Bitcoin that they did previously. And so basically, the amount that's getting released is slowing, and so it's kind of a supply and demand thing where supply goes down, so demand goes up. So that's why you see every 4 years big spike in Bitcoin,
Yeah.
and then the rest of the
And
market.
I've seen some of the graphs, they're pretty identical or
Yeah,
they're pretty similar to the whatever like the cycle like there's you can almost predict when it's going to be its lowest and when it's going to be its highest if that stayed
yeah,
to form but
exactly.
and
So
what do
what's
you
going to
think
change it is like when say when XRPs and other assets are actually being utilized for their divine technological purpose, it will kind of make the speculative market irrelevant at that point because then it will be driven by the demand for holding that currency for the technology. In the case of XRP, the technology is that it can do essentially instant free payments anywhere and cutting out the middleman. And then
well
that will drive up the price because you need a massive market cap in order to facilitate that much money being moved around.
and like we talked about this for like our Japan trip if you wanted to pay in crypto you would be able to pay in
Yeah.
crypto right
Yep, for sure, for sure.
and then that's like something we have to figure out in terms of like when will like what do you think is going to have to happen for people to adapt it as a currency? Like, because that's the problem is like you can't. I mean, at one point I remember hearing like you were going to be able to. Well, El Salvador, one of those countries, I think it's
Yeah.
El Salvador.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's like their national currency now. So like they've adopted that. Like, if you could pay for your gas with crypto.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's all cryptos or if it's just Bitcoin or what, but
Yeah, I
I
know what
guess
you're
I was
asking. So
yeah.
let me preface it with this. Um, Another major difference between Bitcoin and XRP is that Bitcoin is trying to be the one coin to rule them all, if you will.
Right.
It wants to be, the holders of it want it to be the new dollar, the new gold. And you hear that a lot. Like, you don't need gold. We have Bitcoin. It's digital gold. Gold is useless now, which
Right.
is very untrue. So in comparison, what XRP does is it's not trying to replace everything. It's trying to connect everything, which on like a spiritual level, I'm also more resonant with than having one control system. We have like an interconnected webbing that connects everything.
Mm.
So, um, and now I'm brain farting. What was the what was the
Oh,
main
just
question
like
with that?
what's going to have to happen that we're going to have to
Oh.
start using it like currency, you know?
So I think it will so we're getting very close this week. They're trying to pass the Clarity Act before Congress goes to or the Senate goes to recess for August. I don't think it's going to get passed this week, but maybe when they get back. But that will be what really allows for mainstream adoption in terms of payments and institutions and banking companies to be able to use it. And so I think in a couple years you're going to be able to spend whatever you want anywhere. And that's ultimately and maybe five plus years for spending anything, but in the next few years you're going to be able to, I think, go to the grocery store and spend crypto if
Crypto.
you want. And they already do make debit cards that allow you to do that, where it essentially you swipe it's like a MasterCard or a Visa, you swipe it at the grocery store, you pay crypto, but it essentially sells the crypto on the spot, and then the grocery store gets dollars for it.
Oh, interesting.
But I
Yeah, because
think,
like I was gonna say, like crypto isn't gonna really become a thing until I can go buy like whatever, a coffee or a car or all these things, which I have heard that like one of the car companies was starting to
yeah,
accept.
Tesla was taking like Dogecoin, I think, for a little bit
Yeah, I heard
for
like
Teslas.
I want to say maybe it was like Chevy or Dodge or something was like
Yeah.
accepting Bitcoin in there. I don't know. But that doesn't seem like Bitcoin's gonna be able if it can only do 15 transactions a second for the whole world, that's
Yeah.
not very efficient.
Well, that's where like exactly. And eventually you'll be able so one of the things that crypto's doing is what they call tokenization, which is the word given to the idea that anything of value in the real world, whether physical or digital, will be represented on the blockchain and given the freedoms and the virtues of the blockchain. And so an example of that is like stocks or precious metals. We're going
Hmm.
to be able to hold both stocks and precious metals as well as foreign currencies, natural resources, you name it, real estate on the blockchain. And then what that means, one of the aspects of that is that you're going to be able to spend those things anywhere you'd be able to spend crypto. So imagine going to the grocery store and you have Tesla stock or you've got silver in a digital portfolio on your phone
Hmm.
through your crypto, like it's a tokenized silver coin or a tokenized Tesla stock, and you're going to be able to swipe your card the same way you can do now with crypto, but you'll be able to spend anything that you have that you would normally not be able to purchase with that you'd have to jump through hoops to sell and then purchase. But more so than like spending it will definitely be a thing, but for XRP in particular, it's not so much trying to become like the new dollar like Bitcoin is, but it, like in the beginning when I said everyone's going to be positively affected from it, it's going to be integrated into the back end of essentially every payment system,
Mm.
uh, whether it's XRP or another payments crypto. And so it's going to then radically change that where you're not going to need to wait those 3 to 5 days anymore. If you have Venmo and I have PayPal, they're going to be interchangeable. We don't have to jump through hoops. Like if you want to send money to another country, you're not going to have to go through all the hoops that, we're going
Yeah.
through right now.
And that money to another country, like we were dealing with Japan payments and stuff, and
Yeah.
it's like we're using TransferWise right now or Wise, which is okay, but it's like I remember a couple years ago when well, in 2019 when I went to Egypt, it was like I had to pay something like $120 to get my $5,000 transferred by a bank wire.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge fee for just you're paying, but then like that's an additional like there's
Yeah.
some like doing international wires for like stuff like that is a lot of money. So
Yep. Yeah. And for both little guys like us and then big companies and corporations too. So it's like it's an interest that everybody should share, unless you are the central banks that are profiting off of that system, which is why they're trying to fight it so much because it gets rid of their business model essentially.
Hmm.
But
Interesting.
now I think they're in a place where they see that that is inevitable and they're being forced to adapt and either integrate existing ones, or you see a lot of banks now trying to create their own crypto that, and that's where it gets questionable in terms of like going more centralized, like CBDCs, which are
Hmm.
central bank digital currencies,
Yeah,
which are
wasn't the
like,
government trying to create its own kind of crypto?
yeah, so like, well, here in the States, at least under Trump, they've outlawed it. You know, maybe that could change if another admin gets in. But in European countries and African countries and around the world, you know, China is a big example with the social credit system. They want to create not a cryptocurrency, but a completely centralized central bank digital currency that they control and program every aspect of. So that's like the fork in the road is like, we're going to have digital currency. We already do, like you said, right? Nobody
Right.
really uses cash anymore. Um, and we should still be allowed to use cash, which the CEO of XRP is a proponent of. He's not like anti-cash like a lot of other people are, or CEO of Ripple, I mean. Um, but yeah, brain fart again. I forgot where I was going with that. What was your question?
Well, I don't know because I have a new question.
Okay, okay,
What
just
do you
shoot.
think about, I don't even look at, I'm just coming up with these in my mind. I'm not even having them written down. Anyway, like AGI or like,
Oh,
like say like there's going to be a point in time. I've heard some people talk, I don't know if it was Ray Dalio or I heard something on some podcast about talking about how like once the supercomputer or super intelligence comes, like the
yeah.
artificial general intelligence and all that stuff, like there will be no way to have
Secure your stuff.
passwords.
Yeah.
It'll just be able to figure passwords out for everything out and all this stuff. And so all of your digital money and your banks and your crypto and your everything, it's all screwed. It's just like there's some people who have some like real
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
dystopian views on that. What do you think about all that?
Well, that definitely is a big talking point and potential threat, like quantum computing in particular.
Yeah.
But and people will throw it out there with crypto that are anti-crypto. They'll say, "Hey, well, quantum computing is going to mess with that." But quantum computing is, like you said, going to mess with everything. It's
Yeah,
gonna
if it's gonna mess with your crypto, quantum, it'll mess with your bank account.
And look how easy it is for scammers right now to already get into people's accounts, either through fooling them as fake customer support or hacking in like to bank accounts and, normal day stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so crypto companies are working on quantum resistance and quantum proofing the technology. I know Ripple has been working on that with XRP. Right now, there is a way to quantum resist your XRP, and nobody's ever been quantumly hacked yet that we know of on any kind of public level. But I'm
Right.
sure, the technology, what they have is far beyond what they tell us,
It'll
obviously.
come at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would also imagine that if the quantum computing tech is already there, which I think it is, maybe they also already have the solution, but we haven't publicly learned about any of it yet because it's all behind the scenes. But an easy way to quantum resist your XRP, and this might work with other cryptos, but specifically XRP, is you want to put it on a wallet that you never send money out of. So you only send money to that wallet. And then
Oh,
if you were
interesting.
to send money out of that wallet, then it's no longer quantum resistant.
So this would be like how you would think of your savings account, but not
Yeah.
necessarily something that you were going to be on down the line using as your bank account.
Yeah. So it's like treat it as a saving and wallets in general, treat them as a savings account. Um, they're still easy enough to pull money off of and sell if you need to. But if you're worried about the quantum stuff, just make a wallet where you only send the crypto to that wallet. And if you ever have to pull money out of it, just make a new wallet and send all the funds to that new wallet, and it'll be quantumly secure again. And then, in the coming years, I think we're going to get more actually quantum proof technology for that kind of thing because it will be an issue if it's not addressed.
And I only have Coinbase wallet. Like I don't have, or it's called, I think it's whatever. I don't
Yeah.
have like another wallet. So that's the kind of thing you need Jace for because it's like even me, I'm like, I know some stuff about this stuff for versus maybe like my mother would, right? But at
Hmm.
the same time, even I'm like, how the fuck do I get the wallet? I mean, what wallet? There's like 80 wallet. How do you know which one's the good one? How do you
Yeah.
know? I mean, like, I have like Moonshot. I have
Yeah,
Oh,
there's a lot.
I have Coinbase. I have, it's just like there's so much stuff and everything's like, and there are actually are exchanges that have just gone away, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And well, I mean, the biggest one, the most famous was FTX a couple years ago with
Oh, yeah.
that youngest billionaire in the world, Sam Bankman-Fried.
Oh,
He was
that Sam Bankman
29.
thing. I didn't realize that they had an exchange. That's what went under. Oh,
So FTX was an exchange, but they also had their own crypto for the exchange, which most of the exchanges do. And basically, what they were doing was they were
that was a crazy
uh,
story.
illegally investing their users' funds and leveraging the money that they were holding for users into other investments, and then they lost those other investments and went bankrupt. And
And they
then
were doing
people,
like cocaine on yachts and
yeah,
stuff. And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they're all like in their 20s and like, and probably also pawns themselves. They're probably not really running the show at the end of
yeah,
the
that's
day.
true as well.
But that's why like exchanges, one of the first things like I teach people how to do in my academy is you buy it, but then you get it off the exchange as soon as you can because you never know what's going to happen with a private company and you don't want to put your trust in a private company. Whereas with the wallet, even though there's a company associated with the wallet, let's say that company goes out of business, you can still access those funds. You can recover them with those passwords into a different brand of wallet if that company goes out of business. So
Mm.
you're not at the mercy of like a company making a mistake and you losing all of your funds, like with that scenario.
You have to show me what wallet to get. I
Yeah,
should
well,
probably do that. I'm kind of going like, oh, I should do that because I still
so
have stuff on Coinbase. Yeah,
yeah, well, and I'll show you how directly, next time we hang out, we can go
yeah.
through it. But if people want to, I have the wallet that I use, and I have a discount link for it because I'm an affiliate with them. It's were you able to put my link?
I put well, you could check the thing, but yeah, I put your beacon
Okay.
thing. So like if like he's basically got this like link tree. It's not link tree, but it's like a thing where it has all of his things and it should be in the description. Oh, let me check and see if people are if we're are we even live?
Yeah, we're live. Yeah, we should look at comments.
Yeah, let me look at
Um,
comments and see if people are even on here or what's going on.
yeah.
Sorry
Okay.
guys,
So
I'm not
the
good at like looking at the comments whenever um oh Amanda said hi friends and then this puddle jumper is like these are hidden gin contracts with cryptos. Oh, there are hidden gin contracts with cryptos. Audit block all contracts only accept at the surface level. Access. I don't know exactly about that, but um yeah, like so the spiritual level, like talk about that then. If
Yeah. And real quick with the wallet, if you click that beacons link in the description where all my socials and stuff are in there, I have the link to the wallet that I use, which is called the Decent wallet, short for decentralized,
oh, that's
DCENT. And my link will give you like 20 bucks off. It's like 120 bucks or something with the discount. And that's the main one that I've come to trust and use.
and it's a physical thing that
It's a
you
physical thing. Yep. So it looks like this one looks like a little old school MP3 player almost.
okay.
Um, and it's got a fingerprint scanner that keeps it all domestically. It doesn't send data, it doesn't have internet connection or anything. And the fingerprint scanner is a step up in security than just a PIN code, which a lot of other wallets will use, which, people can guess a PIN code, but a fingerprint's got to be you.
Yeah, that's nice.
Um, so that's the one that
Don't touch ovens.
yeah, don't burn your fingerprints
Don't
off
turn
for
your
sure.
fingerprints off. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's where too, like again, if you lose that wallet, if you drop it in the toilet, if someone steals it, as long as you've got those passwords, which we teach people how to set this up, how to manage it, how to make sure it's all good to go, you'll still be able to get into your funds even if you destroy that physical device. So,
Right. That's good.
but
That's all bases covered as much as you can. And like
yeah,
you can what if it to death, but like that's all but the what ifs can also apply to other things in real life too, you know?
yeah. And I mean for me, like, and then we can get into the spiritual side, but like having a place where you can store value digitally that's actually completely sovereign was so needed around that 2020 period when people were just getting all their accounts and stuff shut down. And so it's literally the safest place to keep something in the digital realm outside of having physical gold and silver, and then cash is arguably, not really valuable anyway. Um, so to be able to have that in that realm where, yes, it is more responsibility, it comes down to you a little more, but that someone at some bank or some government can't just like freeze your account and you're shit out of luck. That's really important for this modern day.
Yeah. And I mean, like, we all went through the trauma of the COVID bullshit and all whatever that one world mafia move was. But
Yeah,
it's like we can't be 100% sure that there won't be another. Um and I'm not saying it'll come in the same form. It may not be an attempted you know, like plague or whatever, like or
right.
but it might be, who knows what it might be. I mean, and instead of it being some meteorite that hits us, we might end up going to like have some sort of world wars or something. And you want to
Yeah.
be, I mean, and those things are like, I don't want those in my timeline. I don't like Mad Max as a timeline. I prefer to have like whatever the most amazing like unicorn magical life come back.
Yeah.
But in the advent that it does go a little bit more dystopian before it goes utopian, yeah, it's just good to have another, you know,
It's like a hedge against the system collapsing in a way.
yeah,
And not even just collapsing, but like you said, I don't want to think that that's what's going to happen, and I feel like we're on a better timeline, but you never know. And ultimately, things like that are rebirths. Like when the forest burns down, it's a rebirth. It gives new growth. So any collapse is just a catalyst for something better. Um, but whether it's a hedge against the system collapsing or it's just that you sense the immense opportunity in what's going on here, because and this gets into the spiritual part, but I think that crypto, I think, is giving humanity the best opportunity to radically change your finances that humanity has ever had. I think the closest we've come is the internet so far, where people had this opportunity to invest in tech startups and the internet and that kind of stuff, .com era. But this is like it's literally the internet, but now having to do specifically with money and finances, which is the core. David Schwartz, who created XRP, he has a great quote that where he says something along the lines of the freedom of finance is the core freedom through which every other freedom depends on. And that was the thing with the trucker rally, where you have freedom of speech, you have, right to bear arms, all this
freedom
stuff.
movement, no,
But
yeah,
if they shut down your money, you can't do anything. You can't go buy guns. You can't, drive to the protest or whatever. Um, so what really got me taking this more seriously was when I was really opposed to Bitcoin and crypto in general leading up to 2020. Somebody had told me about XRP in early 2020 and they told me it was at 17 cents, and 17 is a big synchronistic number for me, where when I hear that or observe it, I kind of like pay attention more to what's going on. I feel like it's the way that for me the universe like gives me a sign that, hey, stop and listen for a second. So, and I immediately got this like intuitive hit, like, okay, yeah, Bitcoin was weird, but there's something to this XRP thing. So then I went and I did all the research and connected all the dots, and I found that like all the left brain, logical stuff lined up with the intuitive hit that I was getting. And what I came to realize was that XRP in particular, crypto as a whole, but especially XRP, I believe is going to provide a chance for average people, people who don't have money to put into savings, people who are barely getting by, to be able to put just a little bit in and potentially like radically change their lives, years down the line. And it's not a get rich quick thing. Like crypto is definitely not an overnight, you're going to be a millionaire. It's a lot of up and down on this journey. And
yeah,
so there's a lot of spiritual lesson too in that volatility and in watching your crypto portfolio go down 50% or 80%, but then it goes up 400% and being able to hold through that and teaching you patience and really faith in like for me it's not faith in crypto, it's faith in God or spirit or my higher self, because that's what I feel like gave me the intuitive hit and the message that there was something here. And so, yeah, I think crypto is going to do well, but really for me, it's like a faith in the divine plan of things. And I think that this is going to be a way where we're going to be able to flip the pyramid upside down because average people are going to come into large amounts of wealth. And particularly, it's not going to be everybody because clearly everybody's not investing in crypto and XRP, but it's going to
right.
be the people who felt that call and then stuck through and had the patience through the turbulence and had that like to me it's almost like a spiritual vetting or a spiritual IQ test in a way. Who can actually get through the trials and tribulations and out the other side? And those are going to be the people that actually I think tend to be more service to others and more, especially with XRP, be more
Good
service to
ones to have
others.
money with anyway, or good ones to have large ones money.
Exactly. Yeah. People that are actually going to do good with it rather than just buy mansions and Lamborghinis and like live a
Right.
lavish lifestyle, which is more what you see with the Bitcoin crowd is like, just
The cocaine
immense
yachts. Yeah.
materialistic. Yeah.
Yeah. What about XLM? Like, or I mean, because you've talked a lot about XRP, but is there, I know there's 4 or 5 different functional coins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are both part of what they call the ISO 20022 standard, which is the new global payment standard that went live last November on like 11/22, which is another fun number. And it's basically like the new international standard for any kind of payments with banks that basically a common language they can all communicate. And so it's not specifically crypto, but the cryptos that are going to be implemented into the back end of the system will have to be compliant with that as well in order to get integrated. And so, like you said, there's about like half a dozen to a dozen of those. XRP, XLM are the most famous. There's
Hmm.
also like XDC and HBAR and Algorand and IOTA and a handful of other smaller ones. But with XRP and XLM, they're kind of seen as brother sister energy. They're very similar. They even have one of the founders of Ripple left and created XLM, which is called the Stellar Network.
Okay.
And they're kind of almost a copy and
I've
paste
heard
of
of
each other.
Stellar, but I didn't realize it was related to XLM. Okay.
Yeah, so and this is in my intro class for our academy, we go way more into like what is even the difference between like Stellar, XRP, XLM,
Ripples with
Ripple,
it.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
but basically like XLM is the currency, Stellar is the blockchain network.
Yeah.
So XLM
Well,
is the main currency on that network.
and
And kind of
I
that's
have
like the front end of payments, whereas like XRP is the back end.
followed like on X, I'm friends with your XRP guy. What's his name? The guy who
Uh,
founded XRP,
David
Schwartz.
Schwartz?
Yeah, like and like he's commented on some of my stuff before, and I've commented, like
Wait,
so.
really?
Yeah, I've
Wait,
interacted with him. He's
he
like,
follows
yeah,
you?
yeah. I don't know if he follows me, but I don't know how. Like, I've
But you've chatted or something
we
briefly?
chatted about some artifact he found or something, and then yeah, and
Oh.
then there was
Oh yeah, I
yeah,
remember that. It was like the
there
wood
was
thing or
another
something.
time too about he posted something about. Jeez. Anyway, I don't. It was all kind of like history kind of stuff. So I
Yeah.
mean, basically, he's kind of already I could tell like a cool guy, right? But then, that Blamick or whatever his name is, the guy who does the Ethereum
Oh,
belief
Vitalik.
Vitalik, yeah, that dude. It's like he's very smart, but I mean, he says some like whack shit. Like I saw him like some interview talking about how, he's really excited for us to be like um just grown in incubators so that, you don't have to have women get pregnant and they don't have to be out of the workforce. We could just all be
Okay.
born like and grown in incubators that you can see in your living room or kind of thing. And it's just like I mean, you know what? There's one part of me that like there is actually some sort of ET galactic thing that I actually remember sort of a situation where we didn't have parents. We like were raised or sort of like that. But this is like that like having parents is part of this matrix that we currently are living in. Is I don't know, he's got some weird like
Well, I
trans
think,
things that are kind of weird that he talks about. So it's just kind of like if you look at the founders' personalities, you're like, eh.
yeah, I think he's like a MK Ultra style asset for something bigger. Like he gives me those vibes, the Vitalik guy.
Yeah, he's
And
real bizarre.
it's interesting too because before he made Ethereum, he applied to work at Ripple and he got denied
Oh.
work at Ripple and then he went and created Ethereum. But there's
He's
this
real
great,
young too, right? Like,
yeah, I think he's like my age, like, or maybe,
but he
yeah,
he created this at like 18 or like
yeah,
very young, yeah.
which is suspicious too, because
Well,
like,
exactly. It's like the Mark Zuckerberg kind of
yeah,
story, right? And the similar thing for me with XRP with Bitcoin is like, oh, what's his name? It's like some Japanese name that supposedly created it.
Satoshi Nakamoto.
Yeah. Okay, so Nakamoto is like this person that no one knows who he is or whatever, and then he must have died or something, and he's gone. So no, and there's it's two part. One part of it is kind of like, well, it's good that there's not somebody that's just sitting there yacht cocaining it or whatever, but off of Bitcoin that's like the founder. But at the same time, it also just gives me this is three-letter
Yeah,
agency created, you know?
I agree. And somebody pointed out, I don't know if it's 100% true, but they took the name Satoshi Nakamoto and I think they translated it to Japanese or something, but it was like the sa and the ta and the, each kind of syllable within it.
Uh-huh.
And it like translated to Central Intelligence is like what it translated to.
That's interesting because I was just thinking it's totally like CIA,
Yeah,
you know.
I agree. I agree.
But yeah, I mean, and I feel like that a lot with so many of our corporations are, uh, I don't know. I was just talking last night. It's so bizarre how um we we're not in a democracy at all. We're in a representative republic, but then even on top of that, like we're not even in a representative republic. We're really in like these weird oligarchies where like actual amount of money that like Google or Amazon or like these things pull in is more than the GDP of most countries. Like
Yeah.
so we have some sort of weird we have a weird system of control going on that we have to reformat. It's very bizarre. But I do think that I don't think this is the answer, but I think it'll help in that
Yeah.
in that transition of whatever is going to be folding out.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't think it's like the end all be all, but I think it's one of the puzzle pieces in the big picture. And like going back to the money redistribution thing, like, people that have studied the occult and the deep state and all this stuff know that, they say Elon's the richest person in the world, but there are dynasty families that are multi-mega trillionaires, if not
That
more.
aren't on Forbes that you're never going to
Exactly.
know. Yeah.
Exactly. Even Putin, is Elon has said is way wealthier than him. But then you have like the Chinese dragon families and the Rothschilds and
Or
all the
even
ones
some
we
of
haven't
the
heard about.
sultans and some of like the sheiks and stuff in the Saudi Arabia
Yeah.
that like we don't know. I mean, like they've been you're talking about oil money for 100 years, like I
Yeah.
mean, or some of the royal families, right?
Mhm.
Like like I went to grad school with like one of the girls who was like a Bavarian princess or whatever, like a they may not be kings and queens of Germany now, but they still have all the family property and wealth, and they literally used to be.
Mhm.
And so it's not like that money just went away overnight. And like so there's but they're not public about it.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
there's a lot of like theories around redistribution of wealth, which I don't necessarily subscribe to, but I think it is possible in a degree. And even in this admin in the US, they've talked about, um, having like payouts to taxpayers and stuff as kind of a redistribution or compensation in a way. But, people theorize there's going to be much bigger ones, which I don't know if it's true. But if they did do that, they're not going to redistribute that money by writing a check to people or through going through the 3 to 5 day friction banking system, which is the same people who have been holding all that legacy
right.
wealth. They're going to do it, I would think, through the most decentralized, quickest, cheapest, easiest pathway, which is going to be crypto, which doesn't mean that we're going to get it in crypto, but it means that on the back end, they'll be using cryptocurrency to actually settle that money to people if that's what happens. But then also in terms of like the redistribution of wealth on a investment level, like the people that I see guided to crypto and like the people that I really help with the most are people that are in the spiritual realm. They're on their awakening path to whatever degree, and they feel this immense pull to usually XRP in particular. And most people were like me, where it's like they didn't care about Bitcoin, like you as well. They didn't care about crypto, but then something about XRP hit them intuitively. And so those are the people that are feeling called to this, whereas a lot of the Bitcoin people, most of the Bitcoin people hate XRP. And there's a big tribalism within crypto. And the people that I see being called to Bitcoin are more, like I was saying earlier, like materialistic, more self-preservation, self-wealth. The people that I see being called to XRP don't know anything about investments. They don't, but maybe they have like a 401k or they have some mutual funds or something, and they don't feel too good about the longevity of that. So they're feeling this call to crypto, but they have no idea what to do. And that's where I'm able to step in and help out. But those are going to be the people that then come into that immense wealth, and that's that flipping of the pyramid. And it's not like, I don't think like everybody's going to be like a mega millionaire or something like that. It's all obviously dependent on what you're investing. But I think that we're going to have a lot of new millionaires, a lot of mega millionaires, and some billionaires that emerge from it. And
And I remember you
imagine,
telling me something about how like there's like it's not even like you have to buy like 100,000 of this stuff. It's like like a couple grand or I don't know how many share. There's a certain amount that it's like if you have at least this month, they say you'll be secure. It's
yeah, most people say like obviously take everything with a grain of salt. There's nothing set in stone, but most people will say 2000 XRP, which right now is about $2,000, is a good like secure kind of place to be in. And there's a lot of different theories about what the price of XRP could be, but again, what would drive it up is the actual utility and usage of it. So right now, the way that I explain it is like the new, and people call this the quantum financial system, which is kind of a buzzword. But energetically, I think it aligns. The new financial system is this quantum space where money will be able to move as efficiently and cheaply as information on the internet. So what the internet did for money, or sorry, what the internet did for information, crypto is doing for money, making it decentralized, making it, cutting out the middleman, making it easier to access. Um, and so the the oh, I keep brain farting. I don't remember where I was going with that. I think I was going the direction of like the redistribution of wealth, right?
yeah.
So the imagine like the people like us now and like the people in our circles and all the projects that we're working on that we're, our divine missions or our sacred missions or whatever, whether it's creating events, it's creating tours, creating healing centers, being a teacher, whatever it is. Imagine that those people are now funded with more money than they would have been able to fathom and are
Mhm.
then able to actually fulfill those missions because most people have, people in our circles have like some crazy good ideas, but it takes money to actually build these things.
Execute them, yeah.
And so if now, even if it's not like everybody's uber rich, but now all these people with that are big dreamers and star seeds, if you want to call them that, people that are on mission for creating something good for the world, coming into funding, but it's not just one person, it's like millions of people. I think that's what could quickly shift things in a better direction where it's not going to be the answer, but like you said, it's a major piece
It's a
that will
puzzle piece, like
contribute.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which I do I think that that's really cool. So tell people what they get if they get into your course. Like what is it what you have different tiers and things and what's your thing?
Yeah, so Conscious Crypto Academy is what it's called. I started it in 2022, so we've been doing it a little more than 4 years, and we've had something like 170 people join in that time. So basically, what we do is we have core educational material in a course that are videos that are step by step that you go through and it'll show you step by step me doing the process, talking, narrating over it while I'm doing it, showing you how to set up your account. It's geared toward total beginners, so you don't have to have any experience in anything. It's better that you don't.
So
Um,
like you could be a total sorry, but you could be a total boomer in your like
yeah.
90s and like he could figure help you figure it out. How does that work for like let's say somebody is super in their age and they're like they die and then like is there a way for their family to get it?
Yeah, so there's kind of you can go the super nuts and bolts way, or if you want to get the legal system involved with wills and stuff, you could do that too. If you want
Okay.
to go nuts and bolts way, basically you just want to make sure that your next of kin or whoever knows where your
The
wallet
passwords
or your
are and
passwords are.
okay.
But you could also get the legal system involved in the courts and put it in a will and have that will give over those accounts.
Interesting.
So it just
Uh,
depends on how much you want to involve the system.
And then
Um,
also regarding that, is it super taxed?
So right now, it's normal capital gains tax that you would get with stocks, where if you hold it for less than a year before you sell it, you get short-term capital gains, which are significantly higher. I want to say it's in the 30 to 40% range.
Mm,
If you hold it for more than a year, it's significantly reduced long-term capital gains.
okay.
And
So
so that's
it isn't a quick in and out. Like you do want to hold it over a year anyway.
Yeah, and like for me, people always ask me like, when are you going to sell it? What price are you going to sell? I don't plan on ever selling it unless I have to, but I'm not going to sell it for profit because I want to keep my value in what I see is going to have long-term longevity. And if you're just keeping stuff in the dollar is always going to be equal to itself. So you're not going to get more dollars by holding dollars, right? You're going
Right.
to get 2, 3% in the bank, maybe, but it's
And then
like
I guess if you're at a place where you need to get into your savings, then you go get into it.
exactly, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we teach people how to go through all that. So the course is all self-paced, no time limit, but then we also do weekly group coaching calls. So every Sunday, almost every week for the last 4 years, we've gotten on a group call on Zoom. We usually have 10, 15 people on the call and we go over any questions that you have. It gives people opportunity to talk to me, face to face over Zoom, talk through any issues they're having, and then we go into like what's going on in the world, crypto updates, news, and then we go kind of super big picture spiritual disclosure and we talk about, all the kind of whether it's
Yeah, yeah, no,
Epstein or
you have quite a community. Like I've met some of the people in your course,
yeah.
even like Joaquin's moms and your thing. I mean, like there's a bunch of I think you have a good group of people.
Thank you. And I think that's what surprises people is they get into it for crypto and then they find like we're so much more in our group than just crypto. Like we're really like a 5D think tank, if you will, but crypto is like the cover or the focus
Yeah,
for it.
it's the
But we're
entry
talking
point.
about like, we've done like group remote viewing sessions on our calls together, just kind of practicing and messing around or,
Oh, cool.
talking about astral projection or talking about parasite cleansing, like all that kind of stuff.
Oh, very, very, very cool. See, so it's really is conscious crypto.
Yeah, which I don't know of anybody else that's doing that, which is really cool. It makes us unique because it'll give you a group of like-minded people that, a lot of people are like, I like crypto and I'm really into all the spiritual stuff, but nobody that I know in my friend circles like cares about any of that. And people feel really isolated and alone. And so it gives you not only a space to talk about conscious crypto material, but then I feel like people they're able to let loose and like, talk about
Yeah,
things and that they would normally just be keeping in and have a friend circle that's not going to judge them for all these crazy topics that come up.
that's really cool. And you can opt in or out depending on what you feel like, you know. And
Yeah.
if you are like stressed out and going like, what the shit? This is down to this amount. I'm gonna yell at Jayse. Let me get on there. And
Yeah.
then be like, he'll be like, calming you down. It's okay. It's gonna
Actually,
be
that happened recently. Somebody wasn't like mad, but they were like kind of like, "Oh, I got in at the top of the market and now it's come down," and they were kind of feeling, hopeless. And I was like, "Look, this is like I was saying earlier, this is part of the journey. Like the people that are going to make it through are the people that are going to have the patience and the tough skin and the faith to get through it and not get shaken out by the market coming down. And I've personally seen my portfolio come down like insane amounts, like way more than 50%.
Yeah. Well, I
So
mean, like even for me, like for example, with XRP, I bought in when it was like 50 cents and I don't know how much I put in, like $500.
mhm.
Then, like a dumbass, I was like, "Oh my God, it's $3. Before it goes to 20, I'm gonna get in like I'm gonna put $2,000 in." So it's like I spent the most money and got and I have more from when I put in 50 cents than I do from when I put in like the $3, when it was
Yeah.
at $3. But anyway, all the AC averages out to like, I still probably am losing money right now because it's probably like $1.50 or something is what like it was averaging in. But I'm not too worried about it because like it just like it's not going anywhere. It's not going to be completely wiped down to zero. Now, my I'm not worried about my XRP, but I am worried about yeah, my Trump coin that went away. Okay, that's
Yeah.
gone. My, I bought, I did I'm I'm not a good investor with stuff because like I also bought like oh, I don't know. It was like what IQSTEL. I don't know, some dumb
Yeah,
letters.
yeah,
Some other one that somebody told me about, like some mama's dog thing or whatever. And like I put like I don't know, a couple hundred in that, and that's zero. It's gone. And I have some in Bitcoin, a little bit in Bitcoin served me well because I just put like $500 in that in 2017 when it was like 17,000. And then so like that,
yeah,
that went all the way up to like $100s. So
yeah,
that definitely I did so good in there. But like I'm never taking it out. It just is in there like doing its little dances. And
hmm
it's not a ton of money, but it's just like if it ever did become a ton of money, woo woo, that'd be
yeah,
fun.
yeah,
But I am secure in that I don't think if you do a functional coin instead of these meme coins, stay away from meme coins, guys. I learned the hard way. Um, they're not going to zero.
yeah. Especially XRP over like all the other ones, because XRP is still the third biggest crypto, used to be the second behind Bitcoin. So it's been around nearly as long as Bitcoin was. It was created like a year or two later.
Well, and I even
So,
don't think Bitcoin's going to go to zero. It may not
yeah,
be functional
I
forever,
agree.
but it's not, it's never, it is the OG and it is kind of the
Yeah,
dinosaur, but it's never going to go down to nothing.
I agree. I agree. It'll survive it at least as like a antique,
Yeah.
if nothing else. But yeah, it's with like you're saying, it's important to obviously manage your own risk, and like if you can manage to put some of a little bit of every paycheck, or one paycheck or whatever, a piece of one paycheck into it, and you still have cash flow. It's not all your money invested. And even if it does, not pan out, then you're still going to be okay, right? You don't want to be in a position, and I'm more radical. Like I'm kind of more in the position of like I got everything in crypto, which is not what I necessarily recommend for people, but for me, I'm like I have that much conviction on it that I keep like bare minimum in my bank account, and everything I've got in crypto. I don't do stocks or have a little bit of silver and gold, but not much. But that for me, that's because I just have so much conviction. For the average person, I would say, obviously, if you feel that much conviction, do what you feel called to. But the safe thing is to just put in what you know you can afford to lose if it doesn't work out. But XRP, I agree. I think it's too big to fail at this point. It's already got so many institutional connections. It's maintained the top three cryptos for 10 plus years now. So yeah, I don't think that one's going anywhere. Whereas the other ones, higher risk for, the smaller crypto you go. And we have some of these other ones in our course too. Like we focus on XRP, but we have about 5 or 6 different ones that we teach you about. And it'll apply to all crypto too. So even if you find some random thing, your experience will be able to translate to that. Um, but we have like smaller ones that are higher risk for sure, but also could be higher return of investment. And so that's where we can help you kind of strategize to like what is, a good, safe, allocation for you and where you're at.
So we have a question from somebody. Somebody says, do you feel that if there is a dollar crash, people will scramble to Ethereum and XRP? Ethereum looks like the Illuminati pyramid attached to the antiverse.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I agree. I think so there's a great documentary on, I think it's Apple TV, that talks about Ethereum and XRP. It's called Rigged from the Start, the SEC's War on Crypto. Rigged from the Start. And
Oh.
it's on Apple, I think. And it really goes into depth about why Ethereum is essentially the Illuminati coin, and how the Ethereum Foundation um, worked with Chinese deep state money and then the Biden SEC to basically kill XRP with the SEC lawsuit that happened, and then front run Ethereum and Bitcoin as the new global dominant currencies. So I agree. definitely, what did you say? Illuminati pyramid. Yeah, attached to the
Antiverse attached to
antiverse.
the antiverse.
Yeah. So
Right.
if the dollar does crash, um, I think that crypto will be the saving grace. And I used to think that we were for sure bound for what they call a black swan scenario, which is multi-market financial crisis across the whole world kind of thing. Now I feel like we're on a slightly better timeline, just what I feel intuitively, that yes, there's still the potential for a black swan, but I think we're on a smoother trajectory right now where that won't be necessary. But if it does happen, I think crypto will be the saving grace or the phoenix that rises from those ashes because that liquidity is going to have to go somewhere. And then this reminds me too, related to Japan. I think we talked a little bit about that Japan, like privately about the Japan yen. They call it the
Yeah,
carry
mixed up.
trade thing. So right now, and this relates, with our Japan tour and everything too, it all ties in kind of. Japan and the US obviously have a newer kind of strategic alliance more recently. I mean, we have for a while, but it's gotten stronger recently. And the yen has historically, the Japanese currency has been used as a global liquidity source because
Mm.
it had such low interest rates. So all these like foreign bankers, instead of borrowing from their banks that had higher interest rates, they would go to Japan, borrow from the Japanese bank with low rates, and then they'd go and trade that money into other markets and other currencies. And so they were using Japan and kind of almost bleeding it dry in a way. And so the yen in recent months and years has become really, really weak, which in the last few days has been a big talking point recently about the yen. And so
Which, by the way, is, I mean, that's good.
good for
It's
traveling there.
good for traveling to it for now. Yeah.
Your
It won't
dollar will
always
go
be that
very
way. It
far.
shouldn't be that low though, because like it's not a third world place. Like you get there and it is way
Yeah.
more advanced than us in a lot of ways.
Yep.
And yeah, so it's like a luxury experience, but you're not having to pay a luxury price.
Yeah, so probably the best time to go to Japan to make your money go the furthest.
Is
It might
now.
be different in a few years.
Yeah.
So basically what the Japanese are doing is they're going to be raising interest rates on the yen. And there's this thing, and I'm not, it's deep economic theory, but I'll touch the surface of it from what I understand. Um, they're raising interest rates to strengthen it. And so all of these global banksters that have been borrowing from them are now going to have debt with higher interest rates. And so they're
Mhm.
going to be trying to get out of that debt with the Japanese bank. And it could result in this scenario called the Japanese carry trade, where there is global market crashes as these banksters are quickly selling off their assets to cover their debt to pay off their debt to Japan as the interest rates go up. And so good for Japan on the surface, bad for the rest of the world. But what that
Right.
ultimately means is that Japan will no longer be that source of deep liquidity for the global bankers. And so they're going to need another liquidity source. And then that's where XRP comes in, because one of the other things it's intended to do with these cross-border payments is be this deep source of global liquidity. And there's all these spiritual water codes, right? Like liquidity and Ripple and a 1 millionth of an XRP is called a drop. And so there's, currency, there's all these water codes associated with it on the spiritual level. Um, but that could result in shifting. They're going to basically need something like XRP in order to have global liquidity to be able to draw from. And that's where it could really play a gigantic saving grace as well.
Wow.
A little more technical and complicated, but
Yeah, that I mean that's above my pay grade. All right, Jace, is there anything that we haven't touched on about the conscious crypto that maybe people should know?
Um, I think we hit most of it, but I think just like last driving message is like if you feel called to this, you know, honor your call, whether you feel called to it or you don't feel called to it. But if you feel called to it and you need help, that's what I'm here to help with. And you mentioned this is what I was gonna say earlier. You mentioned boomers and age and stuff. Most of the people that I work with are in their 50s or 60s on average. Um, so don't let age, sway you because a lot of people are like, oh, I'm probably too old. Your group's probably all 20 and 30-year-olds, but it's not true. Most of them are 50s
Or
and
older,
60s,
yeah.
as old as like late 70s. So um, really like what I'm here to do is help the people who feel that call. They're like, okay, I know that I want to engage with this. It feels right, but I had no idea what to do. I don't know where to start.
Yeah.
And
And
that's the reason
it
why I'm
is
doing it.
hard to get in initially. Like it's not they have not yet made it intuitive, just like, oh, you pick it up and there you go. It's not quite
Yeah.
that good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So, and it will get better. Like, but by the time it gets better, I think most of the opportunity will be gone. So,
Mm.
the fact that it's so hard right now is why there's such a big opportunity because it's a big barrier for most people to engage with it. And so if you can get a coach, even if it's not me, if you can, you can learn through YouTube. It takes a little longer, but that's how I learned was teaching myself. And for me, it just kind of clicked more intuitively than with most people, and I'm blessed to have something that I never would have expected I'd be able to help people with financial stuff because I was never in that realm. Like I went to school for aerospace engineering and then left that world and lived in my van for a year and then stumbled upon this and all of a sudden people are asking me for help with crypto and I'm like, okay. And then it turns into all this.
Yeah.
Um, and the other thing, last note is like earlier when you were talking about the volatility in the markets and, buying at $3 or $1.50 or whatever, most people, emotionally, they're going to go with the crowd in terms of if people are feeling really good when the markets are up and they want to chase that high, or they're going
Hmm.
to be scared away from it when it's really low, when it feels scary. But one of the things that we teach you, and that is kind of just a good lesson in general with markets, is the opportunity is when you can see past that fear of the masses and take advantage of that. And so when the markets are down like they are right now, like this is
They're
the
down right.
lowest.
It's on sale, you guys. It's on
Exactly.
sale. Go get it. Yeah.
Exactly. So like you got to think a previous all-time high of XRP was like 380. Bitcoin was like a 120,000 something. And now it's like 60,000 and a dollar for Bitcoin and XRP. So
Right.
just to get to the previous point of which it was is a multiple times multiplier on your
Mhm.
investment. Almost 4x for XRP right now, about 2 to 2.5x for Bitcoin. Another reason why XRP I think is a better investment is,
The
the
potential
amount.
for opportunity is better. Yeah.
Exactly. The amount of energy it would take to do a 2x on XRP is much less than to do a 2x on Bitcoin. So
Right.
you can multiply it faster. But, you can go for it. Like, I just want to say, if you feel called to it, don't wait until the markets are blasting back
Back
up.
up
And then
again.
you're like,
Yeah.
oh crap, I got to get in because, it's not going to be as good of an
And
opportunity.
I feel, I don't know. I don't know. I always feel like it's like I get it. I'm like, oh, but it's not done going up. It'll
Yeah,
still go up
I
more.
do too. And I bought at the top too. So like it's not just a beginner thing. Like nobody knows exactly what's going to happen
Like
as
it's
much as
taking
people
off. It's
pretend. And
going its own way. I'll buy
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Even $3 is cheap, which in the long term, probably that is cheap, actually.
yeah. Right. If it's worth $1,000 in 5 years, then yeah, anything is
Yeah.
cheap compared to that. But in general, you wanna take action when there's fear in the collective with the markets, and you want to be a little more cautious when everyone is gung ho and kind of they call it the greed and fear index, and they actually measure it. There's websites you can go to and you can see, okay, there's this much greed in the market today. It's really green. People are really elevated, and there's,
Right.
next day it's in red, and you want to buy on the red. So that's my final message.
Cool. All right. Good message.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. His descriptions of stuff is in the, or sorry, his links to things are in the description. You'll be seeing more of Jayse because we'll be doing stuff about our upcoming Japan tour that's going to be coming out. He's working on an amazing trailer. He took awesome drone footage of all the megaliths in Japan, and then yeah. So
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
and one more thing I do have in that link, I've got in that Beacons link, there is a free call schedule with me if you're interested in joining. So I have some free workshops in that link on my YouTube. You can go see if you want to learn more. And then if you're serious about joining, which I typically recommend people have at least a few $1,000s for their crypto investments to join the program. There is a cost for it. Um, which will cover the different options and stuff. But we can, if anybody's interested, you can set up a free 30-minute consultation call with me. We'll chat about where you're at, totally free. And if you want to sign up, we can get you enrolled. And if not, I'll try to point you in a better direction. But all of that's in that link down below.
Cool. Sounds good. All right, you guys. Till next time.
Thanks for having me, Nikki.
All right. Bye, Jace.